For our next presentation, I'd like to welcome Thane Vadja, Customer Service Manager for CxAlloy. So whenever you're ready, Thane.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I work as the customer success manager for the Team CxAlloy group. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a different approach here and go ahead and do a live demo of what CxAlloy looks like for all of our users out there. Maybe there's some users that are using it. Maybe there's some that are not. Maybe there's some that are just tuned in that want to get a feel of what CxAlloy looks like. So I thought a live demo would probably be the best way to go about this. So what we're looking at here is a CxAlloy project that I've set up as part of this demonstration. So I thought, instead of kind of going through step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I go ahead and start all the way at the very end of the project and show you what you can expect using our report generator through CxAlloy. So I've set up 2 reports here, actually 3 with the master issues log, but I've got a sample one here, and that's for the final commissioning report. So the way that I've gone ahead and set this up is it's got a table of contents, it's got a title page, it's got all the things that you would expect a proper report to have if you're going to be submitting this to something like a client or an owner or a team member. So I've got a report here, so I'm just going to go ahead and download that report, pop it open. And as you can see, all of our reports are set up in a very standardized way, where we have accessible links through the side of the reports. You can go ahead and jump to different sections of the reports. You can take a look at what you have been completing throughout the project, and you can link all of these things through the CxAlloy report generator. Now, as you can see, I've uploaded some files as well. So those files can be included as part of your report, or you can go ahead and keep it a little bit more lean, a little bit easier to understand. And so that's the sample that I prepared as the final commissioning report. But I also want to go ahead and show you what I prepared as part of the systems manual report, because I understand not everyone that's going to be using CxAlloy will necessarily be commissioning specific, and the systems manual might hit home with a little bit more of the construction type team. So I'm going to go ahead and download this report, pop it open. And as you can see, I've got a section on the side, again, completely cataloged, completely searchable. And if I jump into a section, let's say the chilled water system, you'll see that I've got a nice description I've set up here. I have information on the system. I have my equipment that's part of the system, operating values, issues that have come up, checklists that are all associated with the piece of equipment, tests, files, everything that you would expect to be included with the report that you're going to be submitting at the end of the project. So additionally as well, I can go ahead and I can include sections for my piece of equipment. And if I jump in here, you'll see that I have included a section here for the chiller as well. So that chiller has the specific information for that piece of equipment. So I put in manufacturer, model, serial number, all the checklists that have been associated. And then that keeps going on and on and on throughout the rest of the report. And I can also go ahead and jump back and take a look at the different sections that I've set up as part of the report. So everything is intended to be dynamic, completely customizable for what your team needs to do as part of your reporting structure. And it's meant to be replicable. So these can be set up for any project. You can copy the format from one to another to make sure that your clients or your team is always getting the consistent level of quality that you would expect from something like a software like this. So that's where we get to at the end, but I think it's now time to go back and kind of talk about how we actually get to that point. So as part of CxAlloy, there's some main pillars, one of them being our report generator, but also one of them is our asset tracking. And so within CxAlloy, you have the opportunity to set up equipment lists. And with these equipment lists, you can include as many pieces of equipment as you want. You can have high-level pieces. You can have very finite levels of equipment tracking. And within each of these pieces of equipment, you have a detailed piece or an equipment page. That equipment page is going to show you the main information you want to see, like the name of the equipment. I have a status here, so I've set up a tagging system, so it shows me what tag we have applied to that piece of equipment. I have my discipline that's associated with the space of where that's located, as well as the type in the system. So all of this can be cataloged for each piece of equipment within your CxAlloy project. I can also include things like comments, so I've gone ahead and thrown a comment in here just to show that as you're going through and you're doing walkthroughs or you're updating your equipment list, you can go ahead and put comments in as well. We've also cataloged some pieces of important information, such as the manufacturer, model, and serial number, and that's what you were seeing as part of that report. All of this is being tracked through things within the CxAlloy software. We do also have a section where you can catalog things like issues, checklists, tests, files, and different pieces of information. And all of these links are meant to be dynamic. So if I click on one of these links, it's going to take me directly to that piece. So this is the checklist for an air handling unit. Again, all of this is dynamically linked. So if I want to go back to the piece of equipment, I just click on the link, and then I'm back on my piece of equipment. I can also use the system within CxAlloy to create very finite lists or very precise lists. So I've got 65 pieces of equipment as part of this project, but I understand that 65 pieces of equipment might seem small. Imagine if we have a team that has 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 pieces of equipment. You'll want a way to filter and sort that type of data. So I have a couple status tags that I've applied on the side here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the orange tag and the blue tag status. So now what it's done is it's taken my equipment list and it's trimmed it up to just show the filtering pieces that I've asked it to include as part of my equipment list. So I've got my piece of equipment here, and as you can see, I've got some that are blue tag, some that are orange tag. And so now that I've filtered it down, I want to go ahead and sort that data. So I'm going to sort by type to make things a little bit easier for me. And now I've combined my filtering and my sorting for my equipment list to show me exactly what I want. So I can see the different piece of equipment. I can see if any of them have issues. I can understand why they have a specific tag or a specific status that's applied with those pieces of equipment. And then I can always use the PDF button and create a PDF of whatever level of detail I would like to include. So you can quickly make these reports, send them out to a team, and continue on with the work that you want to be doing for this project. Additionally, we can also set up things like equipment types, locations, and systems. We'll jump into the systems once we can take a look. So I've got the air handling unit system here. So I've got a description. Again, I've got my building for my location, discipline, operating values, equipment, checklists, and the chilled water system was the one that we looked at. So if I look again, I've linked my pieces of equipment with this system. I have the issues that have come up, and I've got all the different checklists that are associated with these pieces of equipment as well as the tests. So that's how we're generating these reports at the end of the project, is we're linking all of these things together within the CxAlloy software so that when you need to produce that information on a regular basis to your clients, you can go ahead and send that out in a quick and concise way. Now, one of the other pillars that we talk about when we talk about CxAlloy is our ability to have checklists and tests. And so I've got a couple of different checklists that I've set up for these pieces and this system. But why don't we go ahead and actually take a look at what those checklists look like. So I've got a checklist section here in my ribbon. I'm going to select the checklist. And now I have, again, 252 checklists, which understandably is probably a lot to try and scroll through. So again, what we're going to do is we're just going to sort. So I'm going to sort it by asset, which is a piece of equipment. And I can now see that this air handling unit has these checklists associated with them. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this one, the air handling unit general, and I can see a lot of information right away. So again, I'm getting my checklist name, I'm getting the type, I'm getting the status of my checklist. I have a bar that's going to show me all the different progress that's been made here, and then any issues that might have come up. I can also look at what this checklist has been assigned against. So for us, it's the air handling unit 1, but it also shows me all of the subsystems that go along with that. I can see who it's been assigned to, as well as who set the status. So if you need that level of history that goes along with things like digital files, that's all available to you just on this main landing. We've also gone ahead and included the information that we were seeing in the report. So things like manufacturer, model, serial number, as well as a couple of checks that I've set up here for things like shipping damage or physical damage, anything that you want the teams to be checking as part of these checklists. Now, there's a couple of teams that are probably thinking, that's great, that looks really nice as part of a demo, but I don't actually use checklists like this. I have a very different template that I use. And so the way that we build our checklists and our tests within CxAlloy is we have a foundation of a template. And so I've gone ahead and I've used this one, the checklist template for the air handling unit, but you can go ahead and set up as many templates as you want. And these can be used across multiple projects. You can use them multiple times within the same project, and you can go ahead and refine them. You can keep them at your account level and keep working on them and keep refining them as your team gets more experienced with CxAlloy. So if you ever had to make a change, you can go ahead, add lines, and then select from our collection of all the different line types that we have available to you. So I also want to take a look at tests because tests are very similar, but also unique. So again, what we have here is we have a collection of tests that all live within CxAlloy. Now, I have the one up here, which actually has a status of failed. So I can go into that test, I can take a look at it, and I can see who set the status. I can also see that it's a failed attempt. And I can see that I've got a couple of things that have gone wrong as part of this demonstration. So what tests allows you to do is have multiple attempts. And why that's important is that if I want to create a new attempt, I can copy my answers from the previous attempt. I can add that in, and now I have a secondary attempt. And let's say this time these are corrected. I can go ahead and set the status as passed. And now I have a catalog of what happened with this test. Now, how many times did it fail? I can go back and look at this attempt. I can say, why did it fail? And I can go in and I can do that deep dive. I can do that analysis on this. So checklists give you the one attempt. Test allows you to have multiple attempts as you go through and give that flexibility and that leverage for your teams to go ahead and say, we tried it once, this is what happened. And throughout these checklists and these tests, you can have things like notes. You can include things like issues that are identified as part of your project. And then you can also attach files or photos. So the other pillar that we have here as part of CxAlloy is our issues tracking. And issue tracking becomes very important when we're talking about cataloging things that have come up through checklists, through tests, through shipping of equipment to site. And so we want to make it easy for teams to get access to things like issues that have come up. So as part of the dashboard, we're displaying a lot of information here, but really it's the idea and the information on what's been happening with checklists, what's been happening with tests, what's been happening with equipment, all rolled into issues tracking as well. So if I go to the construction issues section, you're going to see I have quite a few issues that I've cataloged here, all within one location. And just from this main landing page, I can get a lot of information. I can see that this first one, the air handling unit has been installed in a location where valves are not easily accessible. I saw that it came from a field observation report. I've assigned it to a team member. I have a discipline I've created. I also even put a due date against this. And if I want to look, there's a couple of comments in here. There's some files that show what's happening on site, as well as additional levels of filtering and sorting through attributes. Some teams are like, that's great. I love that there's issue tracking, but I track things in a very different way than you do here on the screen. And so the basis for CxAlloy is actually all through what we call workflows. And so within our workflows, we can go ahead and set up whatever sort of custom status that you might need to track for your team and your projects. So I've got this one here where it goes from open, acknowledge, and progress, and it goes all the way through that workflow. But you can set up to have whatever sort of custom statuses you would like to have as part of your process and your workflow for your team. And so that doesn't apply just to issues. It also applies to equipment statuses, checklist statuses, test statuses, and then finally the newest one, which is task statuses. So if you want to track your tasks in here, you can also do that all within CxAlloy. So again, the web interface is a great way to get a snapshot of all this information, but I know there's a lot of teams that are going to be saying, well, yeah, everyone has a web interface, of course. So we also have a online interface, which is available through our iOS applications. So I've actually got my iPad here, so I'm going to go ahead and just bring that up on the screen so that everyone can see what it looks like. So this is what our application looks like. We have our dashboard. We also have access to things like equipment, so you can do your equipment tracking. We have access to our design issues. We can look at construction issues. We can look at checklists. We can look at tests. I can do field observation reports, all through offline capabilities where I can download my projects to my device, synchronize when I get back to the office or when I get back to the truck, and make sure that all of the data that's being captured through me walking around on site is all synchronized for the team members that are using the web as well. So with that, there's a lot of different things that people are going to say about commissioning software, but CxAlloy has a great line that I like, which is get in, get done, and get home. And I think that really is what the aim here is and the goal for the team when we're talking about using softwares. So there's a lot of other things that I'd love to show you and talk to you about when it comes to CxAlloy. So I would say you can get a hold of us through our website. You can get a hold of us at sales@teamcxalloy.com. You can book a demo. We're happy to answer whatever sort of questions you have because there's a lot more that we could talk about, and I'm happy to talk about it. Thank you.
That was very informative. Thank you so much, Thane. And just a reminder that CxAlloy is giving away 2 tickets for their upcoming CxAlloy for Fort Symposium 2025. So to participate with that, go ahead and type in CxAlloy and post it using the Q&A button. Well, I already see questions come in for you, Thane. And the first one would be, can the CX agent allocate a construction checklist to multiple personnel contractors that would both have stakes in the completion of the checklist?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question because that's something that probably comes up quite a bit. So the way that CxAlloy works is that you can assign different items within CxAlloy to 3 different ways. You can do it directly to a single person. You can do it to a role. So let's say the role is mechanical contractor, you could assign it to mechanical contractor, or you can assign it to a company. Those are the 3. So if you have overlapping teams that are all working under the same role, let's say they're all mechanical contractor, they would all be aware that that checklist has been assigned to their specific role, and it would show up on their main landing page to complete when they get into CxAlloy.
Perfect. And I see the next question by Jordan. He's asking any likelihood of an Android application being released by CxAlloy?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're actually in the process of developing the Android application as of right now. We have a little bit more information on our blog as well as the website, but realistically, there is plans to release an Android app, and fingers crossed, we're hoping to get the early access into people's hands soon.
Perfect. Next question says, how many users can have access? Do you need multiple licenses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was really hoping this was going to come up. CxAlloy does not do licenses or user amounts. The way that CxAlloy works is that it's project-based. So we allow for unlimited users as well as unlimited data. So you can store as much as you want and have as many team members as you need, all within one project.
Got it. And I think this is a follow-up to Kevin's question. He says, what if it is mechanical and I and C?
Yeah, so what we would probably do is we'd create like a custom role or a custom department within CxAlloy so that you could assign it to those 2 team members at the same time. So there's no dual. You can't have it assigned to electrical contractor and mechanical contractor. We would just make a role that encompasses both of those team members.
Wonderful. There's another question by Preetham, and he says, can you explain about the milestone feature in CxAlloy?
Yeah, so Milestones is actually one of our early access features. We have a lot of information up on cxalloy.com/training. What that does is it gives you a deeper dive into what the Milestones feature is going to look like, but really it's a way for teams to track completion of major milestones within the CxAlloy project. So completion of checklists, tests, equipment statuses, you can have all of those things tracked within your CxAlloy project as now with a due date, a start date, as well as slippage amount to show how far are we from the original due date.
Wonderful. The next one is by Larina, and she says, can each user customize their dashboard?
Yeah, so as of right now, you can customize the dashboard on the app. So every interface on the app, you can completely customize the dashboard to be whatever you want. And then the next step, now that we finish with the app, is to have the actual web interface able to be adjusted as well. Very similar to what you would expect with widgets and where you can move and have them in the location you want.
Interesting. The next question is by Joseph, and he says, what about archiving ability? What happens when you leave the customer? Will they have access?
Yeah. So you can archive projects. By archiving a project, what it does is it basically just leaves it there, so you can't add information or edit the information, but you can always go back, produce reports, filter, sort, take a look at what was completed for the project. So we leave it indefinitely as an archive project. So it will stay up there as long as you need it to, but we can delete them if you need projects to be completely removed and deleted.
Wonderful. With less than a minute remaining, this would be the last question, Thane, and it just says, can it be used for tab, for test and balance?
Yeah, you could. We have teams that use it for tab. They use checklist tests as well as different workflows to make sure that it works for them. So it doesn't have to be just for commissioning teams. You can use it for any teams that have a workflow that gets them from A to B to C to D.
Wonderful. And I can see a lot of CxAlloys come in, so we're definitely gonna have a good competition for the giveaway. With that,
Excellent.
with that, we definitely like to thank you, Thane. It was a wonderful presentation.